At around 7:30 p.m. local time on October 1st, the Aerospace Force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard launched a large-scale ballistic missile attack on Israel. At that moment, hundreds of ballistic missiles soared into the air from missile bases in Tabriz and other places in West Azerbaijan province, Iran, like a group of meteors streaking across the night sky and powerfully rushing towards Israel. Under this situation, air defense alarms sounded across Israel instantly, and millions of people rushed to basements or shelters to take cover. Then, the ballistic missiles of the Revolutionary Guard followed one after another, blowing up the intended targets into a sea of fire and a scene of chaos. Given the urgency of the incident, let's focus on the key points first. Look at the scale of the Iranian missile attack, which is first manifested in the way and scale of the ballistic missile attack implemented by the Aerospace Force of the Revolutionary Guard this time. From the way the Revolutionary Guard implemented the ballistic missile attack, many people among the public near Tabriz in Iran photographed the shocking scene of the missile salvo of the Aerospace Force of the Revolutionary Guard. Analyzing from the number of ballistic missiles launched simultaneously, a single basic tactical regiment fired 18 to 20 ballistic missiles, which is basically equivalent to the number of ballistic missiles launched simultaneously in a salvo of a brigade-level unit of the Revolutionary Guard. The Revolutionary Guard had 2 to 3 brigades conducting salvos in the same time period, indicating that this attack has reached the level of a conventional ballistic missile assault campaign implemented simultaneously by multiple basic tactical regiments. In terms of the strength of the missile forces of the Revolutionary Guard, such a strike scale is not to be underestimated then. Looking at the number of Iranian ballistic missiles reported by the Israeli side, the Israeli statement is extremely chaotic. At first, it was said that Iran fired more than 100 missiles. Within about 10 minutes after the incident, it was quickly adjusted to that Iran fired more than 400 ballistic missiles. After about another hour, the final data said that Iran fired about 180 ballistic missiles. I am more inclined to think that the final report of Israel, that is, this data of about 180, is relatively reliable. The so-called 100 may only be the number of light spots that temporarily appeared on the radar screen when turquoise radar for anti-missile early warning made early contact with the Iranian ballistic missile swarm, and the 400 missiles are most likely due to misinformation by some Israeli media in a state of panic. Only when the final battle results are counted after the end of the anti-missile interception operation, this data of about 180 is relatively accurate to some extent. But note that it is only relatively accurate. In fact, Israel does not have the ability to distinguish how many of the targets intercepted by the radar are missile warheads, how many are separated booster stages, and how many are the centroid decoys released by Iranian missiles. On the turquoise radar, these targets will most likely be counted as one missile each, and reporting more missile targets as much as possible is also beneficial to make their interception rate look better, according to the fact that the Emad ballistic missile, Shah AB-3 ballistic missile, and Fateh ballistic missile launched by Iran yesterday generally adopt a design of a first stage booster plus a warhead and a separable warhead and body. It is estimated that about half of the so-called ballistic missiles observed by the Israeli radar are probably ballistic missile bodies or centroid decoys. Therefore, I think the number of ballistic missiles simultaneously launched by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard yesterday was about 100. So, what about the efficiency of Israel's interception? The Iranian Revolutionary Guard fired so many ballistic missiles. Was there any prior notification? What is the efficiency of the Israeli army's implementation of the anti-missile interception operation? And what problems can be reflected from it? I am inclined to think that the ballistic missile assault campaign implemented by the Revolutionary Guard yesterday did no Notify the United States and relevant countries in advance, like the Honest Promise operation, implemented on April 14th. First, the Iranian Civil Aviation Department did not issue a navigation warning. When the Iranian ballistic missile swarm was launched, there were still a large number of civil aircraft flying over Iran, and even pilots on civil aircraft took pictures of the Iranian missile launch in the Tabriz area. Implementing a conventional missile salvo directly without issuing a navigation warning in advance indicates that the Revolutionary Guard has the intention of achieving the best operational surprise. Second, the warning issued by the United States had very short timeliness. The United States first issued an alert that Iran may carry out a ballistic missile attack in the local afternoon, and then issued a highly certain warning around 5 to 6 p.m. in the evening, just 1.5 hours later. The conventional ballistic missile swarm of the Revolutionary Guard immediately took off. I think the U.S. warning did not come from human intelligence, but from intelligence obtained by space reconnaissance. After all, analyzing the medium-range ballistic missiles such as the EMAD used by the Revolutionary Guard, this time, these are all liquid-fuel ballistic missiles, and there is no evidence that Iran's ballistic missiles have ampoule performance. There must be a process of occupying the launch position, measuring the basic elements of the Earth, and filling the liquid fuel propellant before launch. The first alert issued by the United States was probably through space reconnaissance and found that missile forces of the Revolutionary Guard had left the bunker and began to occupy the launch position. And after finding that the liquid missiles of the missile forces of the Revolutionary Guard began to refuel, which is a highly certain precursor of the attack, the United States then issued a second alert. The missiles of the Revolutionary Guard were launched immediately after the fuel was refueled, leaving almost no reaction time for Israel. This also fully proves that this time the Revolutionary Guard is going all out to carry out a ballistic missile assault on Israel. And there is no such thing as playing a tacit game. That is, notifying in advance before the start of the fight. So, what is the efficiency of the Israeli army's interception in the face of Iran's intensive, conventional ballistic missile assault? It can only be said to be extremely unsuccessful. This does not even need much analysis. It can be clearly seen from the videos taken by the Israelis themselves, facing the Iranian ballistic missiles coming like a swarm of bees. The Israeli anti-missile interception system almost had no response and was completely in a helpless and passive state of being beaten. There were at least 2 ballistic missile impacts in the urban area of Tel Aviv and were not intercepted at all. There was 1 impact each near the oil depot in Ashkelon and the oil drilling platform in Haifa. The oil drilling platform in Haifa emitted a dazzling glare after being hit, indicating that a possible oil and gas explosion occurred. The military base near Tel Aviv was hit more severely. Probably Ben Gurion International Airport or Tel Nof military base. It can be seen that multiple Iranian ballistic missiles hit simultaneously, and there were also targets that exploded after being hit. The most tragic one was the Air Force base near Beersheba. Iranian ballistic missiles fell like rain inside the base, and the base was in chaos for a while in general. In the face of this round of ballistic missile attacks by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, it is almost impossible to see that the Israeli anti-missile interception system is carrying out effective interception. The U.S. Navy claimed that the Burke-class destroyers it deployed in the eastern Mediterranean had success. Iveli launched more than a dozen standard 3BLK-1B and standard 6BLK-1A missiles for interception, but there is no exact number of how many were intercepted at all. As for the Royal Jordanian Air Force, which actively helped last time by conducting early warning and dispatching fighter jets to intercept, it was completely silent throughout the process and did not make any sound after the Iranian ballistic missile assault ended. As for why Israel and its cohorts hardly reacted this time, I think there are several factors. First, The reaction time was really too short. The United States only gave Israel less than 5 hours of reaction time in total. From the issuance of the definite missile attack warning to the launch of the missiles by the Revolutionary Guard, it was only about 1 hour. It takes time to raise the combat readiness level, turn on all air defense radars, move the mobile radars into position, and for the air defense ships at sea to start moving into combat positions. It is far from the preparation 2 weeks in advance in April. This time, maybe the preheating of the anti-missile early warning radar was not even completed before the missiles of the Revolutionary Guard came flying. Second, the scale of the single ballistic missile assault was truly astonishing. Just the confirmed number of launches in a single wave was more than 50, and about 100 missiles were almost fired at once, which far exceeded the tolerance range of Israel's existing anti-missile interception capabilities. Israel's anti-missile interception system mainly relies on 2 battalions of Arrow 2/3 to take on the heavy responsibility, while the U.S. Navy's air defense ships only tested the simultaneous interception of 3 medium and short-range ballistic missile targets in the test, and no tests have been conducted on a higher number of simultaneous engagements. Although the number of simultaneous engagements of the Arrow 2/3 anti-missile interception system is not clear, we estimate it to be 6 for the time being. Even so, even if calculated to the fullest, it can only deal with about 24 targets simultaneously, and it has to ensure that all can be successfully intercepted. Then, aren't the remaining more than 70 targets completely in a state of being unintercepted? Just like entering a no-man's land. Therefore, the main reasons why these ballistic missiles of the Revolutionary Guard were hardly intercepted this time are twofold. First, the operational surprise was extremely strong. And second, the blocking attack effect was remarkable generally speaking. The large-scale conventional missile assault by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard on the Israeli mainland has fully proven that when ballistic missiles have extremely strong operational surprise and face an opponent with insufficient defense preparation, adopting a large-scale and dense missile swarm assault mode is sufficient to achieve the best penetration effect. Finally, it has to be said that the intensive assault of medium-range ballistic missiles, whether from the shocking scene when the missiles are salvo-ed or from the tragic scene after the missiles land, is extremely terrifying, as if the sky is falling. But it doesn't matter. Maybe someone will see a scene that is 10 times more terrifying in the future. Let's just stop here for now.